Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm watching this horror story. So let's get started.
This happened to me when I was around 14 years old. I was at a sort of religious class located far from our main school building. I was drawing my cartoon characters, waiting for my teacher. However, an hour had passed and he didn't come. One of my classmates went out to see what was wrong, and it turned out that our teacher didn't arrive yet. So we had to wait a bit longer. We continued waiting. I started drawing again until one of my friends, Aina, suddenly pulled on my sleeve and whispered, "Something is wrong with CT." I looked at CT, who was sitting at the back with the loud group. She wasn't saying anything or laughing. Well, it was quite weird seeing her like that, because she was the one who always talked a lot in that group. And then I saw that she was holding a small piece of black cardboard and a pocket knife. Since we had an art class that day, I thought that she might have been doing her homework at first, but I froze when I glanced at her the second time. She started carving something on the cardboard, and very aggressively. I couldn't see what she was carving, but she then woke up, went outside of the classroom, and stood there, staring at something. Aina poked my shoulder, signaling that I should check out CT's cardboard. So I sneakily went to her seat to grab the piece of cardboard she left on the table and went back to my seat. As soon as we flipped the cardboard over, we got goosebumps all over our bodies. Something was written on it. The words meant we didn't disturb them, they disturb us, in our language. Aina and I looked at each other. When I got up to return the piece of cardboard, CT was already in her seat and stared at me with a scrutinizing look on her face. I sat down and went towards her with Aina. "Hey CT, how's it going?" I asked, but she didn't answer my question. Then I could hear Aina whispering the Lord's Prayer, and my fear alarm started buzzing again. Then Aina tried to talk to CT, but for some reason, she suddenly shuddered, and I knew the reason. CT started to mumble the exact words that she had carved onto the cardboard, but this time her voice changed. She sounded like a demon. Her voice was deeper and lower than a man's, and her eyes simultaneously started to turn white. Her mumbling was getting louder, and now she began to scream while shaking her whole body. Everybody in the class stood on their seats and watched what CT was doing with fear. Before long, CT suddenly stopped,
What?
dropped her face slowly down on the
Yes.
desk, and began to sleep.
Scary
I
video. I
quickly
didn't
returned
talk.
to my seat
So
and tried
scary.
to take out the cardboard, but it was not there. I searched all over the classroom, even inside of the bin, but it was gone. The next morning, I went to CT and asked her what she was doing in class yesterday, and she replied, "Oh, I was sleeping during the whole class." "You sure?" I asked again, but she said yes, nodding her head. Was my friend possessed? Could it be real? And what she told me next made my face turn white and my heart drop. Oh yeah, while I was sleeping yesterday, I was at some church, and I saw a very beautiful stained glass window with a nun. I wonder who that nun was, though.
This is the story that happened to me a few years ago. I was studying for the civil service examination.
Até putar
To the
do
big city
pé,
to
o
study.
ninguém
And while I was looking for the house to stay,
até,
I met one house.
até putar do pé, até putar do fundinho.
Comparison with the price at that time. All of my friends
Because there
opposed
was
and
a
said the
man,
price is
he
too
got
cheap.
filmed like,
They also told me to reconsider it, but my mind was urgent, so I decided to contract right away. also
she was
lied enough
doing
so that I was
eto potato pe kunji 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 potato potato.
At first, it was endurable.
Die!
The odor was getting
I will
worse,
take your
so I couldn't sleep
soil.
at all in my
I will
bed.
chop off
I
your
eventually
head
begged the owner
and take
ended up
your
moving to the
limbs and
next room,
your
which was far
soil.
away from this room. Since that day, whoever moves to that room, they all moved out again because of the smell. A few
Yeah,
people
because
visited
it's
in a few
all
days,
the potato pe kunji kunji kunji.
taking out all the stuff and remove the wallpapers in the room. Ma'am, we had told you that it would stink. If you'd have done what we said last time, well, you'd have spent less money. Then she
No,
answered
a
embarrassedly,
cough.
I didn't know it was going to be like this. They then began to remove the floor, change the cement, and finally change the whole room completely. Until then, I thought we were just remodeling the house. But after I heard the story of the room from the other people who lived around here, I eventually realized that I was totally wrong. It is said that a few months ago, one student committed suicide in the room. And the owner at that time, she ignored the cleaning company's word that she had to reapply the cement to remove the smell that had seeped into the floor. So she just chose wiping off the blood of the body by reason that it was expensive. The cement looks hard just by looking at it. But because of the porosity, it's known that the cement has lots of small holes like sponges. But what if someone was murdered or the dead body was
He's a
left
beast.
unattended for a few days?
Yeah.
When the blood or such thing flows downwards, it starts to rot inside and then stinks. In addition, if the dead body is left unattended for a few days, the waste begins to come out and the fat flows out when it starts to decay. Like the blood and the waste are hard to clean, as you know.
Blood.
As soon as the smell penetrates
Yes,
through the
I
concrete
take
hole,
his
you
soil
cannot
and
get
I
rid of the bad
chopped
smell no
out
matter what
his
you do.
limbs and
Therefore,
his
it's said that cement
soil.
should be
I will
removed
chop off
altogether because
that
the
guy's
smell would not be
limbs
gone
too
with this
and I
kind of
will
house.
take his soil,
Although I wasn't
and
staying in
chop
that room
off
at that
his
time,
head.
I kept feeling uncomfortable, so I eventually ended up moving a while later.
I will have his soil.